Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the Office of New Student Orientation's webinar for pre-orientation academic advising. We will begin here shortly, but as we have people roll in, I will give it a couple minutes and then we will begin. So thank you all so much for logging in and joining us. For those of you who are just logging in, thank you so much for being here. We're going to give it just a couple more minutes before we get started with our webinar. But again, we appreciate y'all logging in and joining us for our pre-orientation academic advising webinar. All right, y'all, we are going to go ahead and get started. Hello, my name is Sean Smythe, and I serve as the Graduate Assistant for Communication and Special Projects in the Office of New Student Orientation. And we are so excited to have you join us to learn more about your orientation session. Our goal tonight is to answer any questions that you may have regarding the pre-orientation academic advising. Before we dive in, I would love our panelists to introduce themselves.
Hey everyone, my name is Allison Leach Hughes. I serve as the Director of New Student Orientation here at the University of South Carolina. It's great to see you all tonight and talk to you a little bit more about a really cool and exciting program that you get to participate in. I'll turn it over to Allie.
Hi, and welcome everyone. My name is Allie Mathwig, and I am the Director of Four-Year Academic Advising for the University Advising Center here on campus. Like Allison, I am so excited to welcome y'all tonight and talk to you more about this exciting opportunity to be advised early prior to attending new student orientation this summer. So we are excited to tell you more and answer your questions.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for introducing yourselves. I'm a little bit biased, but I personally think we have two amazing panelists up here tonight to help answer everybody's questions. So how this will work tonight, you will be able to submit your questions using the Q&A feature box. In addition to our panelists, we have chat moderators that are working behind the scenes that are ready to jump in and answer your questions as well. So to get us started, while you all are submitting your great questions, I will get us started. And Allie, I'll actually kick it to you to begin. If I was a incoming first-year student, what would I need to be eligible for the pre-orientation academic advising?
That's a great question, Sean. So, number one thing you need to do to be eligible for this summer is to be a student majoring in one of our 4 participating colleges for this program this summer. Those are students in the Arnold School of Public Health, the College of Information and Communications, the College of Nursing, and the Molina Rowley College of Engineering and Computing. So, as long as you're a student in one of those 4 colleges, you meet the initial eligibility criteria to participate. The next thing that you need to do is register for your new student orientation experience. It is critical that we can welcome you to campus, teach you all about the resources that you'll have here at the university, and really start to build that community that is so important. And you will get access to all of that at new student orientation. So that next step is to register for orientation. Third, on May 5th, all of you will receive information about completing our pre-orientation modules called Cocky Transitions. Allison is going to tell you a little bit more about what to expect in those modules next, but you will have the opportunity to begin those modules on May 5th. And after you complete the first part of those modules, you will get taken straight to a link where you will sign up for your advising appointment. So you will actually have that opportunity on May 5th, as long as you complete those modules, to schedule that early advising appointment that you will have with your academic advisor from your assigned major. So you will get a chance to have a one-on-one appointment with an advisor who specializes in your academic major. Those appointments will begin May 19th. So there is going to be a little bit of time between the scheduling and the actual having of the appointment. You will then have that opportunity to have that appointment prior to attending your new student orientation experience later this summer. So those are kind of some of the basic criteria. There's also going to be some steps we're going to encourage you to do along the way, some of our placement exams here at the university, but those are all things that we encourage you to do that are not eligibility criteria for participating in this advising appointment that you will have scheduling beginning May 5th. They will start happening May 19th.
Thank you, Allie, for that answer. In there, I heard you mention the Cocky Transition modules. And so my next question is for Allison, and it is about the Cocky Transition modules. So could you tell me, what are the Cocky Transition modules and when will those be available?
Sure, Sean, thanks for asking. Cocky Transitions is a set of online modules that all students complete prior to attending new student orientation. It's not just for our students in the pre-orientation academic advising pilot that we're running this year. It is for all of our incoming students. However, for our students participating in pre-orientation academic advising, you will have some early access to complete part 1 of that. Ultimately, the Cocky Transition modules were created to give all of our students a solid overview of some really key resources and opportunities that are waiting for you here at USC before you even step foot on campus. As you can imagine, orientation goes really quickly, and we want to make sure that you're really prepared and know all the different opportunities that are out there. We can only fit so much into that 2-day experience, and so we've identified this as a way to really help level that field and get everybody up to speed. For our students participating in the pre-orientation academic advising, you'll get early access to part 1 of Cocky Transition, so you know a little bit more about academics at the University of South Carolina prior to your pre-orientation academic advising appointment. These modules will be sent out to you on May 5th, just like Allie mentioned. And I encourage students, you're going to hear everyone on campus say this over and over, so this is the first time I'm privileged to be able to say it to you. Regularly check your email. We're going to send this to your USC email account, and you will want to make sure that you're regularly checking those. May 5th specifically is when they'll go out about Cocky Transitions. You'll log in and complete that part 1 module, and in total it'll only take about probably 15 minutes. And on that final page of part 1, that's where you'll actually be able to log in and sign up for your pre-orientation academic advising appointment based on your schedule and and your availability throughout the summer, which I think is one of those big benefits of this. As Allie mentioned, advising appointments begin on May 19th, and they do need to be completed at least 2 days prior to your scheduled new student orientation session. And then after your pre-orientation academic advising session, don't forget to log back in to Cocky Transitions at least 2 weeks prior to your new student orientation experience. That way you can complete part 2 and get everything that all of our other students are going through. In total, the modules are really only supposed to take about an hour total. That way you get that good solid foundation and learn a little bit more about USC, and you'll be prepared to ask all the questions you might have during your new student orientation experience.
Thank you, Allison. I love the note on checking your email. If you all take anything from this webinar, I sure hope it's checking your email. That helps us a ton, and a great habit to start in coming to your 4 years here at USC. Allison, I heard you mention the benefits of pre-orientation academic advising, and both you and Allie are on top of it tonight. It's almost like you knew what questions I was going to ask. But for both of you, what would you say are the biggest benefits of the pre-orientation academic advising model?
Sean, I'd love to kick us off with that. I actually have them written down so I would remember. They're pretty obvious though, I think. First, your academic advisor is here to be your guide to getting the most out of your time here at USC. And this academic advising appointment really is the way to set the stage for that. Your advisor is here to help you define and achieve your academic goals here at Carolina. So having that dedicated one-on-one time prior to new student orientation is really going to be so important and really give you the benefit of like having the ability to ask some questions, have that dedicated space, and then really start building your schedule for the fall. Our goal is that you would then have all of your classes scheduled after that advising appointment. So your advisor will lift what is called an advising hold, allowing you in our system to schedule your classes. They will assist you with that, walk you through our technology so you know how to exactly register for the classes, and they'll talk to you about the classes that you will be registering for so that you can be prepared to build that fall schedule. So the first is that dedicated time. That's the first benefit. The second, Sean, you already kind of mentioned and Allison mentioned, you get to schedule this at your convenience prior to attending your new student orientation session. So these will be half-hour virtual appointments. They will take place for the most part on a technology called Microsoft Teams. That is the platform that all university students have access to. You will get instructions on how to access your Teams link, how to get into that appointment when you schedule that appointment. So you'll get a confirmation email and it will give you more information about logging into that platform. The new student orientation office already has a really helpful video telling you about Teams and how to use it. So that's on their website as well for this pre-orientation academic advising program. The last that I'll say is by having your advising done prior to attending new student orientation, you get kind of an enhanced experience at orientation. You get the chance to really kind of throw yourself into building those connections, creating your community, meeting friends, asking questions, learning more about the resources you'll have here. So really your entire focus can be on kind of learning more about Carolina and meeting your peers. So that would be the final reason to participate in this pilot, is that you get that more enhanced experience at orientation by lifting the advising pieces out and doing those early.
Allie took all the words out of my mouth. I love that. Thanks,
I love it.
Very thorough, per usual. I do think that one of the biggest pieces that Allie mentioned just last was the opportunity to really solely focus on getting acclimated to campus. I mentioned earlier that 2 days goes by really quickly, and it's 2 days that are kind of leading you to the next 4 years at USC and all of the things you can imagine that experience to be. And so by participating in pre-orientation academic advising, you're kind of already checking one of those boxes off. off, and you're really allowed to focus on everything else. The opportunity to make those connections, to learn where some of those classes are going to be located that you've already registered for, which I think is great. You can go ahead and reserve your textbooks ahead of time if that's something that you're interested in. There's a variety of opportunities, and it really just is a peace of mind, in my opinion, to know that you've got that one thing checked off your list and you get to kind of start tackling the other pieces as well. Plus, we've got some cool programming identified for our folks that are participating in pre-orientation academic advising. So orientation is obviously still required, and I promise you, you will get a really, really great experience per usual. But we've got some new and engaging opportunities for you to connect on that day 2 time, where other students outside of this pre-orientation academic advising program, they'll be in advising. You actually get a little bit of additional time to take care of some other pieces, and we're excited about those. So yeah, I think those are some really great reasons. Hopefully y'all are all convinced and ready to participate.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for answering those questions. Again, for everyone participating in the webinar, if you want to submit your question, you will be able to use the Q&A feature box, and that is where you will submit your question for either Allison or Allie, as well as we have some chat moderators going in on the back end and answering your questions as well. So it is actually now time to turn to our audience's questions, and we have some really, really great questions. So thank you all for submitting those. Please feel free to submit as many more as you would like. But to start us off, one thing that I am seeing multiple times is some questions about placement tests. And what will those placement tests look like? So, Allie, this would probably be a question for you, but could you explain what maybe the math placement test would look like, the language placement test would look like, and how this all ties into the pre-orientation academic advising model?
That's a great question. So, Sean, at the University of South Carolina, we do have these 2 different placement tests, one for math and one for foreign language. Those placement tests are to help your advisor know what courses to appropriately place you in for the fall semester. Requirements are different for different majors. So if you are a student majoring in mechanical engineering, that's going to look a little different than if you were a student majoring in broadcast journalism. However, we want all students to go ahead and take these placement exams because that will give important information to your advisor about the types of courses and the sequencing of those courses that you need to take for your academic requirements. So I saw some questions in the chat about when should you take these. Our recommendation is to try to get these done at least 24 to 48 hours prior to your advising appointment. So you can go ahead and schedule that advising appointment on May 5th when those open. Then you have a little bit of time between May 5th and whenever you do schedule that appointment, say you schedule it for May 21st, right? We would want to see you complete that about 48 hours before. A couple things here. First, both of these exams are available online virtually. For the math placement test, all students who have submitted their deposits to the University of South Carolina are being added into a Blackboard course, which is our learning management system here at the university, for the math placement exam. Through that Blackboard course, there will be instructions that you follow, that you will download a program to kind of monitor to make sure that you are following the Carolina Creed here and being ethical and meeting our honor code, and you will take that placement test online. And there is lots of helpful information, videos showing you how to take that math placement test. You can take that at any time. That is open to you whenever. You do have 4 attempts at that math placement test. We do recommend that you don't just take those back to back. There is a little bit of a delay between when you want to take them, okay? But you do want to at least try that first attempt at least 24 to 48 hours prior to your advising experience. I saw some questions about what if I have incoming credit? What if you did some dual enrollment and took a calculus course already? We still recommend you go ahead and take the math placement test, and here's why. Math placement allows us to have that score in the system if we are still awaiting your final transcripts from another university to post to your USC record. And that's important because the math placement test, if you are in a mechanical engineering, doesn't just determine the math course that you can take, it also determines if you can take a chemistry course in the chemistry lab, because there's a certain level of math understanding you need in order to be successful in chemistry courses here at the university. So there's other STEM courses that do have some math prerequisites, some basic knowledge that they expect you to have. And that math placement test, essentially what that does is can unlock some of those courses for you and make it a smoother, easier process when it comes to registering after you have that advising appointment. If you do have questions, though, you can certainly wait to talk to your advisor or talk about a second attempt. So you take it at first attempt, you don't feel like it's reflects accurately your math knowledge, you want to talk to somebody, please go ahead, have that advising appointment, and your advisor can help answer any questions you might have and kind of talk you through the process a little bit, okay? So that's the math placement. We do recommend, like I said, everyone go ahead. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to mean if you have math credit coming in that it's going to override that credit and you're going to have to go back and retake calculus. I promise you, the math placement test is not going to harm your progress in moving forward if you are expecting credit for a calculus course. All right, so that's the math. Let's talk about the foreign language placement. The university has what is called our Carolina Core, which is what we refer to our Gen Ed requirements here at USC. Part of Cocky Transitions, those modules that Allison was mentioning, you're going to learn more about the various areas that you will complete for the Carolina Core. One of those areas is a foreign language requirement that all students at the university have to have some degree of foreign language. The level of your foreign language does vary based on your academic college and your major within the academic college. So that's something you'll be able to talk more specifically with your academic advisor in that 30-minute appointment. They'll talk to you specifically about the requirements for your major. However, it is a good idea to go ahead and take that placement test prior to the appointment if possible, especially if you are hoping to continue language study. So if you are thinking, I would love a Spanish minor in the future, go ahead, take that Spanish placement test, and that will allow you to be appropriately placed in the Spanish level that you need this fall. One thing I would like to note, though, about the foreign language placement test is you are only allowed one attempt at this exam. So unlike the math placement where you can get 4 attempts, the foreign language is a one and done. So do make sure that you sign up, you've done a little review, you're taking it at a time that you feel adequately prepared, you're in a quiet environment, that you feel ready to take that test to the best of your abilities. That test is also administered online. It is administered once per week. You do have a 48-hour window in which to take that exam. So you register about a week ahead, and then you have 48 hours on a Tuesday and a Wednesday to take the exam, which takes about an hour to take that exam. So that's just one thing to know in scheduling for those. Those only take place virtually beginning at like 12 a.m. Tuesday all the way through midnight on the Wednesday. So you have 48 hours in which you get to determine the 1 hour that you want to take that exam. I think that should answer those questions. Are there any others I haven't answered, Sean?
I think you did a fantastic job answering both of those questions for not only the math placement, but as well as the language placement. If anybody has any more questions about those, please feel free to put those in the chat and we'd be happy to revisit. One quick question I just saw was asking if this is being recorded and where you can be able to find it if it is. And good news, it is being recorded, and you can find this on the Office of New Student Orientation's YouTube page. It should be uploaded by either tonight or tomorrow morning, but it is being recorded. So if maybe you missed something and you need to go back and write something down or whatever it may be, you will be able to do that. Again, it'll be on our YouTube, and it'll be at the Office of New Student Orientation at the University of South Carolina on YouTube. My next question, and again, y'all are submitting some great questions, so thank you so much, But this next one is probably going to be for you, Allison. If there was a student participating in the pre-orientation academic advising, what does their day two of their new student orientation session look like?
Great question. And I'm going to actually start a little bit with day one just to give you a little bit of insight into that experience as well. With a shameless plug for the registration guide, if you haven't taken a quick look through the registration guide for new student orientation, that's a really great resource, and you can actually see some sample schedules. And we do have one specifically that outlines a lot of the details that Allie and I mentioned earlier in regards to timeline and all of those next steps for our pre-orientation academic advising students. So I encourage you to take a quick look at that, and we'll get the link and drop it in the chat for you in case you haven't seen it. And I'm pretty sure Sean has a slide at the very end of this webinar where you will have an opportunity to pull it up via QR code. For orientation itself, on day one, there's a lot of different sessions that you'll attend. And one of those is an academic college visit. And that's still really important for us to give you that face-to-face connection with your academic college so you can learn a little bit more about degree requirements and really just start building those relationships and know about some of the awesome resources and services and just the staff members that you'll work with in that academic college. So everybody, whether you're participating in the pre-orientation academic advising program or not, will have the opportunity to meet with their academic college. And I think that's really important. So that is happening on day one of new student orientation, amongst a lot of other really great sessions, some breakout sessions, some small groups. If you didn't get a good overview of it in our last webinar, that's also on the YouTube, you can learn a little bit more about what to expect throughout new student orientation. I encourage you to check that one out or give our office a call. Now, on day two, a lot of the times, or traditionally, students would go to academic advising and complete course registration in the afternoon of day two. And a lot of people are probably thinking on this call, for pre-orientation academic advising, I've already done those pieces. Do I get to just leave a little early? And the answer is no, not quite. We do have some really great programming that you would still be required to participate in. It's something that I think our staff in new student orientation are really excited about because you get some more personalized one-on-one attention with orientation leaders and staff members in the Office of New Student Orientation for a program that we're calling Next Steps. We know that there are a lot of layers that need to be completed and tasks that need to be addressed prior to starting classes. And our goal in orientation is always to fully set you up and be prepared for that first day of classes and beyond, to really transition you throughout your first year at USC. And that's exactly what that presentation is aiming to do. So there's a next steps presentation. And then after that, there is a campus business checklist. So all those to-do list type items, maybe you want to go and talk to someone about financial aid and get a little bit more detailed one-on-one experience with them, you can do that. We've got campus tours and hotspots around campus where you can go and, from an orientation leader's point of view, point out where your classes are going to be located, or where you might want to go to the dining halls, or what you might want to do in your free time at USC. We can really customize those for you. If you're in a living learning community, they have required open houses during this time frame as well. So there's a variety of opportunities. I think I've highlighted 3 maybe, but I think there's typically a list of anywhere from like 8 to 10 different things that you would complete during that time frame. And then once you wrapped all of those pieces up, then yes, you get to head on out for the day, but you are required to stay. I would anticipate leaving probably no later for pre-orientation academic advising students only. Keep this in mind, somewhere around that 3:30 or 4 p.m. mark. We are always going to say that it is best to plan to stay until 5 p.m. That is the safest, and that's when orientation itself fully wraps up. Now, if you've got any friends out there that are not in one of the 4 participating pre-orientation academic advising colleges, then it is very important to note that they need to be here until 5 p.m. I know that you might have friends that are carpooling and all of those pieces. The reason why they need to stay until 5 is because they are completing their academic advising and course registration during that time frame. And we don't want to rush that process. It's an important step in the process, and we want to make sure students leave here with a full class schedule of classes, and rushing that process and trying to get out a little bit early really does cause a lot of stress, and sometimes means students don't finish that registration process, which can cause delays down the road. So for pre-orientation, academic advising students, I do encourage somewhere around that 3:34 p.m. mark at the earliest, but definitely 5 p.m. for everybody else.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allison, for answering that. Want to give a quick shout out to Jared and Mike in the chat, providing some great links as we're kind of talking about them in real time. So Mike and Jared, thank you so much. And Mike, you were reading my mind there a little bit. I'm seeing some questions about the pre-advising worksheet. We've mentioned a couple times about the pre-advising worksheet. And so Mike has put it in the chat on where you will find your pre-advising worksheet. You will actually be able to find it in your admissions portal within the enrollment checklist, or it can be accessed directly to the link that Mike sent into the chat. Allie or Allison, is there anything else you would like to mention when talking about the pre-advising worksheet?
I do, Sean. This is so critical, y'all. This is the information your advisor will use to prepare for your appointment so that they know any questions you might have in advance, any kind of plans that you're thinking about for the future. This is also where this information will pull in. I've seen some questions in the chat about AP, IB, and dual enrollment credit. This worksheet will pull in any of those tests that you reported when you were actually applying to come to Carolina. So you filled out those anticipated AP, IB, and dual enrollment credits there, and it will pull into this worksheet and we'll ask you to confirm that information and include any that you were planning to take this year. So I know if you're taking AP exams, that's coming up here in just a couple weeks. Good luck, y'all. You're gonna do great. We would ask you to include the ones that you're planning to take this May so that we know, hey, this student was planning to take AP calculus. So that's something we can talk about, or English, because that will impact your fall schedule. The example I will give, if you took AP English and scored at least a 3, you have credit for English 101, which is a required class for every single student at USC, regardless of major. Every student takes English 101 and English 102. Depending on the AP scores, IB scores, or dual enrollment credit that you're bringing with you, it might mean you skip ahead, instead take English 102. Or if you have credit for both of those, maybe it means that we put another one of those Carolina core courses or another major course, or explore a minor course interest for you. So all of that information is things that if you put it on your worksheet, your advisor knows how to prepare and start to build a tentative schedule of courses that they can discuss with you during that appointment. So filling out that worksheet early, sending it so that your advisor has that information to prepare in advance, more than 30 minutes before your appointment, y'all. Generally speaking, we say 24 to 48 hours is preferred so that your advisor has that information and can adequately prepare for that appointment. Like Sean said, you can access that worksheet through your enrollment checklist on your admissions portal. Mike has placed it here too, but if you need to go back and find it, that enrollment checklist is so key. It has that worksheet. It has those math placement and the foreign language placement links, so you can find everything that you need to get ready for your advising and new student orientation experience through that enrollment checklist.
And I'm going to hop in on that one and just emphasize that as well and say that that's where immunizations are going to be linked for you. Your Cocky transitions modules will also be linked there in that enrollment checklist. We've tried to basically take any to-do list type item and really put it in one place for you so it's easily accessible. And please, as I encourage you to check your email, I also encourage you to go back and check that enrollment checklist as well. Because right now, if you log in, you're not going to see those Cocky transition modules because they're not available to complete yet. But on May 5th, that's when you'll see those added. And then once you've completed, you'll get a green check mark associated with that as well. So it kind of is a good way to check in and see, have I done that? I don't remember. There's a million things to do as you're getting ready to start classes. So it's a really good opportunity to just check in and make sure you've got all of your I's dotted and T's crossed as you get ready to start with us at USC.
So thank y'all so much for answering that one. Can't stress it enough, y'all. That enrollment checklist is so important. So like Allie and Allison were talking about, make sure you're tuning into that and keeping up with all of the things on that list. Transitioning a little bit back to the foreign language and the math placement tests. Allie, are there any tech requirements that are needed to participate or take these either math or language placement tests?
That's a great question, Sean. And yes, those questions are included in the instructions for both the foreign language and math. You do need access to a computer with a microphone and with a camera. That is for that monitoring software that the foreign language and math placement tests use to make sure that you are living by the honor code and not getting additional help from anyone or surfing the internet. It does lock down. You take this in what's called a lockdown browser so that it locks down so you can't be on the internet while you're taking the exam. And the camera is needed to monitor that you do not have anyone in the room with you helping you take those exams. So those are some of the tech requirements for that. If you do need assistance taking that math placement test, I do want to give a plug. If for any reason you are not able to take that online, you are able to take the math placement test in person the evening before orientation. So those are going to be happening on Sunday nights if you are on a Monday, Tuesday session, or on Tuesday nights if you're at a Wednesday, Thursday session. For the most part, there's a couple other off dates, and so Allison can talk about those. But the night before the first day of orientation, there will be an option to take the math placement test in person. However, if you are participating in pre-orientation academic advising, what that just might mean is that you might not be able to have a full schedule before taking the math placement test. So if you are a mechanical engineering student, I keep using that as my example because I advised those students in the Honors College for many years, so they're kind of are my go-to example. If you are taking that and you need a calculus class, it might mean that you don't have a full schedule. You can still go ahead and be advised and register for as many courses as possible. And then after taking that math placement test, if you need to wait to take it in person, you would then be able to finish and complete your schedule after you get that score back. But your advisor would have already spoken to you about your options, so you know exactly what to register for as soon as you have that score in place. So just to give a plug there.
One quick note, in that in-person testing for the math placement exam is a really great option. And we know a number of people do attend or get into town the day prior to orientation starting. And so that's why we're offering it there as an opportunity. If you can do it online, we obviously encourage it. If you cannot, though, in-person testing is a great option. 7 p.m. the night prior to your scheduled orientation appointment or session, excuse me. And it is important to remember that you do have to register to take that math placement test ahead of time the day before orientation. And that information will be located on the math placement website that we shared earlier. And we can drop that in the chat again. But there will be a sign up form for you to be able to do that. And then they'll communicate all the nitty gritty details of where to park and where it's going to be located and all of those pieces. So just want to put that out there. If you do have follow-up questions regarding the in-person math placement testing option, feel free to give our office a call and we'll be happy to help you get that information.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie and Allison. Allie, this next one is probably going to be kind of up your alley here, but are there, when looking at the actual advising appointments, what do those hours look like for scheduling them? Are they Monday through Friday? What do those hours look like? Is there any weekend availability? Could you kind of speak to what the scheduling process looks like?
Sure, that's a really great question. So those half-hour virtual appointments are going to be taking place during business hours because that's when our advisors are here and working. So those typically are going to be sometime between 9 and 5 p.m. However, we know there might be scheduling conflict. If you do need accommodations for an alternate time, perhaps you get home at 5 and you need a 5:30 appointment, I would encourage you to reach out to the college after May 5th. So I would go ahead and try to schedule something. And if there's no alternate, they'll give you some information and you can reach out to them. You can also reach out to me. My email address, I have a very unusual last name. I am the only mathwig here at the University of South Carolina. So if you search for me, you will find my email address and you can reach out to me and I'm happy to assist in that way as well. But for the most part, those are going to be from 9 to 5. They will only be weekdays as well. We do not offer weekend appointment availability for those. I previously have been with the South Carolina Honors College for the last 8 years, and I can tell you we've had students have appointments early, maybe during the day if you are a senior and you have an early release, or if you have a study hour. We've had some students get to work with their school counselors in their high school to arrange a time to do that during the academic school day. So there is potentially a way of doing that while you're still in school and I would talk to your teachers and your academic counselors. I know I've had many students do that in previous years. So we're here to make this work for you and to make this work for our advisors, but they do work Monday through Friday during business hours. So those tend to be when we are offering these appointments.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allie. And again, for anybody that maybe was just joining in or joined in a little late, you are able to submit your questions using the Q&A feature on your screen. So if you have a question, please feel free to submit that. We're getting to as many as we can, and y'all are doing an amazing job submitting some really, really great questions. My next question could be for Allison, could be for Allie. I'm seeing a lot of questions rolling in about AP exams, meshing in with the pre-orientation academic advising program. Could either of y'all speak to how those will go together? I'm seeing some questions about maybe some scores coming in later and potentially affecting their course schedule.
I can certainly speak to that. So yeah, you actually will not receive your AP scores until July. We know that, we anticipate that. We will still ask you to include on your worksheet the tests you are planning to take this year, because that can give your advisor some information to go on and to have in that conversation. And then adjustments to your schedule can be made in July after you get your scores and you know what credit you're going to get. So your academic advisor will work with you, will share resources on how you will know in July what scores translate into what credit, and then they will work with you to make adjustments. You can make adjustments to your fall schedule through what is called our add drop deadline in August, which, oh my goodness, I should have that on my calendar right now. I believe is August 25th this year, but I might be a little wrong. Someone might need to fact check me there. Mike Dial has his computer up. Please help me, Mike. You will make changes. You will have the ability to make changes to your schedule through that add drop deadline, which is about a week after classes begin. So do know as scores are coming in, AP, IB, it might mean making some adjustments to your fall schedule. That is not unusual. I would not want anyone to be concerned about that. Students are continuing to adjust schedules, so know that that is a pretty common thing. Maybe you change your mind about a certain class or you want a different time. You have that ability, and your advisor is here to give you the tools and resources as you are making those schedule changes in advance of that first week of classes.
Awesome. Thank you, Allie. Allison, this next one is for you. I just saw a question asking, what should an incoming student bring to new student orientation?
Great question. I love that this is a general one, but it applies to all of our pre-orientation academic advising students as well. I think it's really important to, one, you're staying overnight in the residence hall, bring all the things that you would need in order to do that. Linens are not provided, so that's important to keep in mind. You'll want to bring those, plus all your toiletries, things along those lines. I always encourage folks to bring a comfortable set of shoes and a raincoat because you never know what you'll get with Columbia weather. So definitely something to keep in mind. We move and groove around campus quite often, and we are a rain or shine program. So keep that in mind. I always like to make sure that folks have a really good understanding of, classes that they are bringing in with them. So to Allie's point about AP classes and all of those pieces, whether that is an unofficial transcript or just a jot down of what those classes are, that can be helpful to prepare for the advising appointments. I'm trying to think of other great things. Never hurts to bring your immunization information with you in case for some reason there was an issue in getting that loaded and that hold removed. You can submit that right then and there. I also would note for our students that are wanting to grab their Carolina card, which you should, at new student orientation, it serves as your meal ticket throughout the orientation program. And in order to be able to pick that up, one, you've got to upload your photo. So that's not even what you bring with you. That's like some work you do ahead of time. So upload a photo via the Carolina card website. And then two, making sure you bring a physical ID, whether that is a license or a passport. I can't tell you how many times folks forget to bring those things with them and then they're unable to pick it up. A picture of that will not do. Unfortunately, we've got to make sure that you are who you say you are because it is an official form of ID for the university. So those are a few things that I highly recommend bringing with you. We take care of a lot of the other things that go along with that. We've got pens for you if you want to jot down any notes. We've got a bag. That way you don't have to carry all of your things in your hands. So we've got all of that taken care of for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison, for answering that question. Allie, this next one, going back again to our placement test, still seeing some really great questions rolling in on those. About how long or how much time is allotted for both the math placement exam as well as the language placement exam?
John, can you come back to me? I think the foreign language is an hour. Math placement, I need to refresh my brain. So give me 2 seconds and I will go find that question and then I'll hop back on. Is that okay?
That is totally okay.
I will go grab that.
No worries at all. Yes, Allison.
I was going to say, I neglected to mention this, but I think this is another important thing to bring. For some of our colleges, they do encourage you to bring a laptop or a personal device in order to fully participate in their orientation programming. If you're participating in the pre-orientation academic advising program, you probably don't need to bring a laptop, but I will say it just in case anybody changes a major or again has somebody that they are friends with and they're coming along with. It never hurts to bring a laptop or a personal device to assist with course registration. There are a few specific colleges that do require it. Nursing is one that has traditionally come to mind. I also think of our friends in cyber criminology, I believe. I'm going to look it up and drop it in the chat, but I just wanted to make sure to note that some colleges do require you to bring a laptop or personal device with you in order to assist with course registration, and we'll find that and add it in.
Yes, thank you, Allison. Just a reminder, y'all, this is being recorded right now. This webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube page. So if there's anything that you need to go back for and look, you'll be able to do that. Again, it'll be uploaded to our YouTube page at the University of South Carolina's Office of New Student Orientation. It should be on so. And you'll be able to find this recorded webinar as well as our first webinar where we talked about all things incoming freshman orientation Q&A. So highly recommend checking that one out. I know Allison had kind of plugged that one earlier, but we really take a deep dive into the orientation programming and what you will be doing at new student orientation. So again, if you need to reference anything from this, you will be able to.
All right, Sean, found the answer.
Nice.
And I'm going to put a plug because where I found the answer is on the Blackboard page for the math placement test. So I mentioned at the start, you will take this through the Blackboard page and you will have access to that through your enrollment checklist. Okay. So I went on there. They have a really helpful Blackboard. It has really any answer that you could need, including the answer to this question. So the math placement test does have 3 levels. So 3 different sections that you will take. Each section takes approximately half an hour. So you want to budget around an hour and a half. However, with one caveat, it is recommended before you start on level 1 of the math placement test that you go ahead and do their practice exam. And I cannot stress this highly enough. The practice exam will walk you through the ways in which you need to include notation. So how do they want you to actually format your answers so you get credit for the knowledge that you have about your math? So do go through that practice exam, and that does take a little bit of additional time. So that's what I would say. Generally speaking, I would budget about 2 hours when thinking about when to schedule that math placement test. Each level, like I said, will take about 30 minutes. The one other thing I wanted to mention about foreign language. There are a few foreign languages at USC. Those are Spanish, French, and German, which if you score highly enough on those, you might be asked to take a second level of the foreign language placement test that is an oral portion of that exam. So if you receive a score of an SS, F for French, or GG for German, you will receive within 24 hours of taking that test, you will receive additional information about setting up that second phase, that phase 2 of the foreign language placement test. That is an additional time commitment. Those second levels will then take place the following week. Usually I think they're on Saturdays, but you'll get a long email explaining the information. If you are not available that very next Saturday, you can take it any subsequent Saturday until you have taken that second oral placement exam. If you do test highly enough for those, you do not have an official foreign language placement test. So if you score one of those letter, you do need to take that second placement exam before you are done with that placement requirement. You will not be able to take a language or test out of a language until you have taken that second level if you're in one of those 3 languages and score highly enough. Like I said, you'll get lots of emails and information about these, but I do want to flag that in terms of thinking about the timing of scheduling your foreign language placement test.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allie, for answering that one. Gonna kick it right back to you, Allie. If a student wanted to see what classes and courses were available before their pre-orientation academic advising appointment, is there a place for them to do that? And is there a way to access that information?
That is a great question. Yes, there is. You can view all of the fall schedule through our online portal called my.sc.edu, otherwise known as Self-Service Carolina. You'll hear it referred to both things here at USC. This is something you should be familiar with. It's kind of your hub for all things USC related. It's where your personal information is. It's where your billing information is. It is also where your academic information will lie. That is where you will be able to view grades, see your academic transcripts. It is also where you have the ability to access advising and registration information, including our fall schedule. So if you go to my.sc.edu, you will be able to access that advisement planning information, and you will be able to get to our browse courses features. So we have various ways that students here at Carolina have to look at fall courses and start to build their schedules. I encourage you to go there. However, I'll give you one caveat. Sometimes you might see if you're exploring some classes, do know that some classes will be added between now and May. We know that we are preparing to welcome you, our next incoming first year class. And so departments are aware of that. We will add seats, we will add sections, so we will add more courses to the schedule in advance of May so that we are prepared to adequately advise and register you guys as you are here over the summer. So I saw one question earlier, what if classes are full? I promise you, classes will be available by the time that you are registering for your during your pre-orientation academic advising appointment. So do go ahead and schedule those appointments, and your advisor will help you navigate how to look up those classes and start to build that schedule. But you have access if you want to start getting a sense. The other information I will plug is the university's academic bulletin. This is kind of our policy document for all things at the university. And in the academic bulletin, you can see the requirements for every single major and minor here at USC. So if you are want to get a sense of what those requirements will look like for you, you can look at those in our academic bulletin.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Allie, for answering that one. Again, I want to shout out Jared and Mike and Allison in the chat. They have been providing some really awesome links for everything that we've been talking about tonight in this webinar. So if y'all want to check that chat, Jared has linked our YouTube, so you'll be able to find this recording as well as our first webinar. Allison has put in the link to where you can upload your picture for your Carolina card, as well as links to self-service that Allie had mentioned, and then Allison just linked the academic bulletin. So some really good links within those as well. That is actually all the time we had for questions today. But before we end this webinar, I would love to share my screen and show some just additional resources that we talked about today. So bear with me, y'all. Give me 1 second and I will share my screen. All right. We should all be able to see my screen now, I believe. Awesome. So first, we have mentioned the Cocky transitions. And so this is actually what your Cocky transition modules will look like. And so these, again, will launch in the summer, but we wanted to go ahead and show y'all what this would look like. Let me go back. So you can see, while as I play the video, kind of what this will look like. And so you will be able to complete these once they launch. Moving on, we talked about a registration guide. I know that was linked in the chat, but you can scan this QR code, and this will take you straight to our registration guide. This is going to serve as your one-stop shop for all things registering for your orientation session. If you have not been able to register yet, we highly recommend you go in and do that. And scanning this QR code is going to help you complete and getting you registered for your session. Moving on, obviously tonight we have talked a lot about our pre-orientation academic advising program. If you scan this QR code, pretty much everything we talked about tonight will be found here. This will take you to our overview on our website of the Office of New Student Orientation, and kind of giving you that overview of the pre-orientation academic advising. And as always, if y'all have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us, connect with us with these links right here. But again, from myself, Allison, and Allie, we want to thank you all for being here and participating, and we hope you have a great rest of your night. Thank y'all.